Well, good evening. I'm Bob Shear, the superintendent of the North Allegheny School District, and I thank you very much for taking the time to be here with us this evening. Following the recent tragedy at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, the district has received quite a few questions about what we do around student safety and security. And so we felt it was appropriate to host an event that allows us to educate our community around what we are currently doing as a school district. Over the next hour or so, we plan to share with you some of the safety and security measures we currently have in place here at North Allegheny, talk about some of the relationships that we currently have, in particular with the Impacts Group and Sam Rosenberg, as well as the 3 police chiefs that we work closely with, and also some of the things that we're doing in the district to focus on school climate and the supports that we have in place for students. And then also provide some of our next steps so you understand some of the work as we continue to move forward around safety and security. So following this evening's event, you will have an opportunity to share your feedback and ask additional questions via an email address that we recently created for this purpose. This information will help us develop a frequently asked questions section to our safety page on the NASD website. Each of you should have received a handout when you came in this evening. On one side of the handout is our standard response protocol, which I will go over with everyone this evening. The other side of the handout contains some of the highlights of the information you are receiving this evening, along with important resources that you can utilize moving forward. I hope when you walk away this evening, you will have a better sense of how seriously NA takes safety and security. Personally, I have 2 students in the district. Both of our assistant superintendents have 2 students in the district, and many of our staff members throughout NA have their children attending school in one of our 12 buildings. So while ensuring safety and security is vital to our daily responsibilities, it is also very personal. Let me take a moment and introduce the individuals who will be presenting this evening, and most of these individuals are seated here at the front of the auditorium. Each of these individuals will take a few minutes to share how they support safety and security at North Allegheny. From the district, we have our Assistant Superintendent of K-12 Education, Mr. Christopher, the chair of our school counseling department, Mr. Kiggins, one of our school psychologists, Mr. Muscari, and our SAP coordinator, one of our 2 SAP coordinators, Mr. Brinkley. And from outside the district, we have 4 of our close partners in this work. We have Sam Rosenberg, the founder and CEO of Impacts, with us this evening, as well as our 3 police chiefs. From Franklin Park, we have Chief Dorsch. From McCandless, we have Chief DeSanti. And from Northern Regional, we have Chief Amon. So much of what we have in place today is a result of a vulnerability analysis that was completed 5 years ago. This analysis was conducted by an outside company and involved going through our district and building level crisis plans and visiting each one of our school buildings. A final report was shared with the district with a variety of recommendations. We then broke these recommendations down into 3 categories. Just do it items, or items that were easy fixes. For instance, removing door wedges on our exterior doors, making sure that interior supply closets and mechanical rooms were locked, and some basic changes in behavior around safety and security. We also looked at recommendations regarding safety training and recommendations regarding physical space and building procedures. We shared this information with our police chiefs, and they helped to prioritize the recommendations. We began to implement these recommendations, and in late 2014, we had a follow-up analysis conducted that showed significant growth in our efforts, and we continue on this work today. We are now in the process of conducting another analysis to identify additional opportunities that we may want to pursue. So first, each of our school buildings has an active crisis team made up of a variety of staff members in each building. This team is responsible for taking the district safety plans and ensuring that they are practiced and modified to suit the specific needs of each building. We know that throughout our district, in some of our buildings, we have very specialized programs that meet very specific needs for some of our students. And so the crisis team is responsible for taking a look at who are the students that we have in this building and how can we best ensure that they know what to do in an emergency. Our crisis teams are responsible for ensuring that our standard response protocol is in place at each building and our students and staff members are aware of these procedures. You likely have seen these posters in each of our buildings. The poster articulates what students and teachers should do in an emergency: lock down, lock out, evacuate, and shelter. And the one side of your handout goes through this. And so again, it shows what are students supposed to do in these situations and what are the adults supposed to do in these situations. The SRP ensures that there is a consistent process and consistent language, bless you, used across the district. As students move from elementary to middle to high school, the language is the same, and when staff members move between buildings, these practices are consistent. Drills are also conducted regularly throughout the school year, and in at least one case each year conducted in conjunction with our police departments. In addition to our SRP, we also have additional trainings that are conducted throughout the year. ASSERT training for all administrators took place a few years ago, and these trainings continue to be offered for all staff members throughout the school year. Mr. Rosenberg, the founder and CEO of Impacts, will share some of the details of this training with you in a few minutes. A few years ago, the administrators across the district participated in a live active shooter training at Nash with representatives from ASSERT. This year, we added Stop the Bleed training for staff members throughout the school year. This training is for all incidents, whether critical or accidental in nature. And finally, each of our classrooms has a to-go kit. These kits are used whenever students need to quickly exit the building and provide important information to the adults who are supervising students. So as you can see, we have training protocols and programs in place to support staff members and students in case of an emergency. Prior to the vulnerability analysis conducted in 2013, and some of you probably know this, but those who are new to the district may not, you could walk in and out of any one of our school buildings. Since that time, significant modifications have taken place at each of our buildings across the district. During the school day, we now have a single point of entry, and all visitors must be buzzed into the building. Upon entering the building, a captured vestibule ensures that all visitors remain in a secure area until being granted access into the building. In order to enter the building, visitors have to provide an official ID, and the Raptor Visitor Management System quickly scans the National Sex Offender Database. Once approved, a visitor badge is then generated. We also have a consistent card key access system used throughout the district for staff members that tracks when employees are entering the building, and our custodians regularly check our exterior doors throughout the day. Additionally, we replaced all interior door locks so that they could be locked from inside the classroom. This is a significant addition as it ensures that each of our classrooms become a safe space in the event of a lockdown. We also installed panic alarms in each of our buildings. When these buttons are pushed, they immediately notify the police, staff members, and key administrators throughout the district. New camera systems have been installed in each of our buildings throughout the district, and these systems are linked to each of our police departments and can even be found in their patrol cars. Each of our school buses has cameras as well. We no longer hold elections in our school buildings on student school days, and we have additional staff members for morning entry into each school building. Recently, I checked with our business office, and I asked, since 2013, how much have we spent on these modifications to each of our buildings? We've spent over $2 million since 2013 to ensure the safety of your students. This is a significant financial commitment on the part of the district, and it highlights the emphasis that we have in place around safety and security. We also understand that honest and open communication is vital when it involves safety. You may not be aware, but for a number of years, the district has had an active tips line. If you have any information that may compromise the safety of our students, I encourage you to call this number. This information goes directly to the police, and there was a handout when you walked in this evening that has that number as well. We've also been asked how we communicate safety concerns with parents. We understand today's world is a very different world than 10 or 15 years ago, and the speed with which students can notify parents and share information via text or social media is quite fast. However, we do ask that parents understand and appreciate that our job, first and foremost, is to address all safety concerns and then collaborate with our police departments. We then share information with parents when it is appropriate. And we know that sometimes we can't provide all of the details that people may be interested in, but there are certain things that we can and cannot share based upon the age of students, also based upon the rights of students, and the investigations that may be taking place. In a true emergency, parents are currently notified via School Messenger. And so all of you, if you're parents in the room, have had the opportunity to sign up for School Messenger and determine how you want that communication to come to you, via text message, email, all of the above. When there is no emergency, but communication is warranted, parents are notified via email. We ask that parents use caution when speculating on something that may or may not have occurred. Our experiences show that often rumors are far from the truth and only lead to increased levels of anxiety for students and parents. All of our work around ensuring student and staff safety is done in conjunction with a variety of community partners. Throughout the year, we host school, community, and police partnership meetings. These meetings are intended to share important information and address concerns as they arise. We also meet with our 3 police chiefs, who you will hear from this evening. As I mentioned earlier, many of our decisions are vetted through these 3 individuals, and we are so thankful for their insight and support. Mr. Rosenberg from Impacts has been a valuable partner in our training efforts, and he too is able to provide insight on our current processes and procedures and suggest areas for improvement. We have an active partnership with our school-based mental health liaisons to assist with more acute needs for our students. And finally, we collaborate with a variety of regional organizations. And each month, I meet with a group of 10 superintendents from the northern region of Allegheny County, where we share our practices with one another. To highlight our emphasis on school safety and student wellness in general, I would like to share our Measuring Success framework. This framework was unveiled at the beginning of the school year and is the culmination of a year's worth of work to determine how we choose to define our success at North Allegheny. We know that academic achievement and growth and the future preparation of our students is important in a K-12 environment, but so too is an emphasis on school climate and student wellness. We began measuring school climate 2 years ago and will continue to do so over the coming years. Mr. Christopher is going to explain this a bit more, but it's the environments that we establish in school that help develop a sense of inclusiveness and connectedness, precisely what the research shows mitigates the possibility of school violence. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Sam Rosenberg, the founder and CEO of Impacts. We began partnering with Sam in 2014, and since that time, he has been a valuable partner in our safety and security efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sam Rosenberg.
Good evening. I'm Sam Rosenberg, founder and CEO of Impacts, Academy of Personal Protection, based right here in McCandless. K-12 security and critical incident response are subjects that I've specialized in for the past 15 years. As a security professional, I'm very grateful to be included in this team, bringing security solutions to the district and to our community. But as a parent of 2 kids right here in NA, you can be assured of my commitment to our community. First, a little bit about me and the work that we would do with the district. In 1996, I left the Marine Corps. I was an officer, and I fell into the close protection world, kind of a fancy pants way of saying bodyguarding. During this time, I protected some of the highest profile people on the planet, from executives to dignitaries and celebrities, including Benjamin Netanyahu when he was the former Prime Minister of Israel. During this time, I developed a personal philosophy that it's good to have a lifeguard, but ultimately you should know how to swim. In 2003, Impacts was born of this philosophy. Our mission since inception has been to empower people and organizations with the same skills and expertise that close protection professionals use to protect public figures. In 2004, we began working with teachers. At first with individuals who were looking to answer the question, what do I do if I come face to face with an armed intruder? ASSERT, which stands for Active Shooter Survival, Escape, and Response Tactics, was developed as a result and was one of the first programs of its kind in the country. ASSERT addresses 2 critical voids in the security continuum. Number 1, how to recognize the pre-incident indicators of a student who could potentially become violent. And then what to do if you come face to face with an armed intruder. Teaching individual teachers grew into teaching whole districts, which expanded into consulting with administrations on security solutions for K through 12 security. Tonight, I'd like to speak with you first about the security perspective that I bring to the schools, including NA, and specifically about the training we provide the staff. When constructing a school, architects have a comprehensive set of guidelines to follow called the Fire Code, which mandate and guide the design of the construction of virtually every aspect of the facility. The effectiveness of this in schools is unquestioned, so you'd have to search long and hard to find even a single example of a student being killed in a school fire. Yet even as violence in our schools continues to escalate with horrors such as Sandy Hook and Parkland, there's still no code for security for schools to follow. One reason for this lack of consensus is that people often confuse actions designed to mitigate fear with actions that can in fact impact true security. Another is that security cannot be achieved by policies and procedures or technology alone. All the security measures in the world are meaningless if the people they're intended to protect do not participate in their own security. But the greatest problem in defense is how far you can go without destroying from within what you are trying to defend from without. Built on the last 14 years of experience working in K through 12 environments, ASSERT provides a practical methodology to secure schools from the threats we face today and the evolving threats that we may face tomorrow, without turning our schools into prisons. Fundamental questions, such as should schools lock down or evacuate? Should teachers be taught to fight back? If so, how? What should we be teaching students? Should schools use metal detectors? How do we mitigate glass? What's the role of surveillance technology and access control? Should schools have armed guards? And if so, what training, qualifications, and equipment should they have? These are all complex and multifaceted questions, but the tactical solutions are fundamental and can be defined and organized into a fairly simple four-step process. Step number one is to assess. In managing the security of any physical space, assessing the risk and vulnerabilities associated comes first. A comprehensive vulnerability assessment and penetration test evaluates all aspects, from the perimeter and parking lot to access control measures for the buildings to safe areas within. It evaluates staff preparedness and competencies, crisis planning and strategic implications, communications and technology. The resulting report then serves as a blueprint that defines vulnerabilities, prioritization of corrective actions, and allocation of resources. As Dr. Shearer mentioned, NA had comprehensive vulnerability assessments conducted on all school grounds in 2013. And as we speak, our firm is reassessing the schools as part of the consultation with the district. The second step is planning. All right? The Department of Homeland Security provides guidance to schools on how to develop an all-hazards plan to provide a logical, uniform process of crisis response, regardless of the nature of the crisis, from a natural disaster to a terrorist attack. NA has taken this approach to the next level by implementing the SRP process, which you have a copy of. SRP simplifies and speeds the emergency response by ensuring everyone knows what to do and how to do it in the event of an emergency with simple, direct communications. IMPACTS is currently collaborating with NA to further improve the training delivery of the SRP protocol to ensure continuity of emergency planning for new hires, substitute teachers, volunteers, and the like. Sorry, my slide management is off a little bit. Step number 3 is to secure the spaces. Throughout history, security has been a paramount concern in the physical design of buildings, from the castles of old to the fortress design common in older schools. But the modern architecture of schools, particularly in large campuses, has evolved to more open, sprawling environs that by their very nature make security much harder to achieve. Physical security is obviously as necessary today as it was in the Middle Ages, not to defend against a foreign invader, but to manage the potential for an active shooter. Physical security in a campus is a function of 3 distinct defensive lines, each with their own issues and priorities. In order, they are first the perimeter, which consists of all exterior aspects of the facility, such as the parking lots, the playgrounds, and the green spaces. The second line is the hard line. the exterior skin of the building, including walls, windows, and doors. And then the final is, in the event of an intrusion, the damage control and immediate response capabilities given safe spaces, meaning classrooms that can be able to be locked down. Hardened classrooms allow for rapid lockdown in the event of an attack, and the goal being effectively to clear the decks to delay contact with an intruder long enough for the professional lifeguards to get there. As Dr. Shearer mentioned earlier, security measures are in place and continue to evolve from incident command to 911 integrated surveillance systems to emergency communications to further hardening the classrooms. New technology is always being evaluated, from embassy film to protect vulnerable glass to instantaneous gunshot detection systems and everything in between. No matter how sophisticated technology can only help so much in the way of achieving security. Ultimately, people are the decisive factor in detecting and preventing threats from manifesting and responding to them. This is why training remains the backbone of the INPACS methodology. The ASSERT program, which is provided several times throughout the school year, addresses two critical aspects of the security continuum. Number one is what we call the myth of randomness. The first is teaching teachers how to recognize the pre-incident indicators of a potentially violent student in their midst. Most people believe that violence is random. The media, in fact, loves to use the word random when describing violence. Yet we see time and time again that school violence is a process, often as observable and predictable as boiling water, if you know what to look for and are in a position to see the signs. The teachers in our district are in a unique position to not only be the eyes and ears of the school, but also to some degree of our society. The problem is, everyone's saying if you see something, say something, but no one's telling you what the hell to look for. The focus of the first part of ASSERT is to empower teachers with the specifics of what to look for so that at-risk students can be identified accurately and intervened in early. The second part is response, or what we look at as the myth of helplessness. We all know that professional law enforcement are society's lifeguards. In an active shooting, they're the ones we count on to run to the sound of the guns. And despite the inexplicable failures that we saw in Parkland, law enforcement agencies across the country, and especially the three agencies right here in our district, strived every day to speed their response times. But the fact remains that no matter what the crisis in a school, the teachers, not the professional lifeguards, are going to be the real first responders. That's why the second critical aspect of training is to ensure teachers know how to swim. The courage of educators and school administrators can't be questioned. Time and again, we see faculty putting themselves between a killer and their kids. The problem is they have no idea what to do once they get there. ASSERT ensures that teachers know what to do if they come face to face with an armed intruder and have no option other than to fight back. I'd like to share a little story with you. I'll warn you in advance, it's not a happy story. It's about how you train a circus elephant, as the image depicts. See, what they do is they take a baby elephant when it's small, and they chain it to a stake. They make sure that that baby elephant can pull and pull on that chain, but it can't break the chain or pull the stake out of the ground. The first time I heard this story, it really struck me as really being incredible from the standpoint that it was like the very definition of learned helplessness. In many ways, this is kind of how we've become. I fundamentally believe at this vantage point in my training career, I've worked with some of the toughest people on the planet, from Delta Force operators to Navy SEALs and SWAT teams and everything in between. And I can tell you that with very rare exception, my fundamental belief is that most people have some dimension of this myth of helplessness in their mental matrix. They say things like, it was an active shooting, what could anyone have done? And the guy had a gun, how could anyone have done anything differently? But the reality is, we're never helpless as long as we can control one critical factor. If that factor is our mind, our ability to make decisions and to think under pressure. So when we look at this, the idea here is that it really comes down to two things, two qualities, willingness and ability. But where willingness is a state of mind, ability is a statement of fact. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what you think you do, only what you've trained yourself to do. This is why we teach our teachers, not to turn them into ninjas, but to ensure they have the fundamental ability to think and to act under pressure, so they're not immobilized by paralysis or panic. Today, ASSERT has been taught to tens of thousands of educators, and it is a vital element of the security continuum at NA. As someone who teaches people how to manage violence on a daily basis, I cannot think of any subject more terrifying than the notion of an active shooter to our children. But never forget that just because someone wants to do you harm doesn't mean they can. Ultimately, we have the final say as a community. There's an incredible team here working together to ensure our kids and our community stay safe, and you certainly have my commitment in doing so. As part of this commitment to our community, IMPACTS and North Allegheny School District would like to invite all of you and all NA parents to experience exactly what we teach the teachers through an ASSERT training course on March 28th from 6:30 to 9 p.m. at Carson Middle School. The event's limited to the first 300 participants. I'll make sure we have enough staff there to handle that large of a group, and it's on a first-come, first-served basis, so please RSVP in advance. A link to register is available on North Allegheny's website at northallegheny.org/safety. The information is also on the handouts you received when you walked in. If you attend, you'll experience a training program that could save your life or a loved one, but that'll definitely open your eyes as to the level of training your educators receive. I look forward to seeing you there, and I thank you for the time. I'd like to introduce you to Assistant Superintendent for K through 12, David Christopher.
So I'm going to take this a little different direction. As school districts across the United States have worked to curtail the challenges that have been presented due to active shooters, there's been one theme that has consistently emerged. The only way to guarantee that a school shooting does not cause injury or loss of life is for it to never occur in the first place. And I want that to sink in for a second. I want you to think about that. That's the only way we can guarantee that our kids are absolutely safe, is that it never occurs. In order to prevent school shootings from occurring, districts have to address many challenges that are not security related. One of the largest of these is the climate of the schools in the district. We know that a positive school climate is a powerful force for good when it comes to ensuring the safety of students. We also know from research the types of faculty and student interactions, activities, and programs that promote a positive school climate. At NA, we've been systematically evaluating and improving the climate of our schools, which, to be quite honest with you, I think is probably some of the best climate anywhere to begin with. But it does not mean that that is not something that we should focus on and work on tremendously all the time, which we are doing. This began in the 15-16 school year when the district first gave a school climate survey. The survey the district chose was from the U.S. Department of Education. It specifically addresses 3 domains: engagement and connectedness, positive environments, and safety. Then within each one of those domains, we have components that we also are looking at. So within the domain of engagement and connectedness, there are 3 smaller components: cultural and linguistic competence, relationships, and school participation. How active are kids in school activities? How well connected are they? The positive environments encompasses both the physical and instructional environment, as well as perceptions about mental health supports and student discipline. Is discipline fair? Do kids feel that it's fair? Do kids also feel that there are mental health supports in place for them? Finally, the domain of safety looks at emotional and physical safety as well as bullying and cyberbullying prevention. This domain also addresses perceptions related to substance abuse prevention. So the district has given this survey out now. This is we're getting ready to launch that again probably in about a month, and that'll be our 3rd year. But just giving a survey doesn't do anything. It has to do with what you do with it, with the information you receive. So the district received 2 school climate grants, which was very helpful. So we received a $25,000 grant last year, and then we received a $5,000 grant this year. Those funds were used to actually put together teams at our middle school and our high school to systematically look at school climate data and address issues that we saw in the data. Areas that we were concerned about, areas where we didn't feel that we had done as well as we had wanted to do. And so those teams actually were supported by the National School Climate Center in New York. We were able to Skype in with experts in the field and actually look at our data with them. We had conversations regarding best practice implementation, different types of things we could do to improve the school climates in all of our buildings. And each one of our school teams had a school counselor, had numerous teachers, had an administrator. So we had this kind of systematic focus on what are we going to do and how are we going to improve the climate here for all of our students. In 2017-18, this year, the district began publishing the data from the Measuring Success Framework, as part of the Measuring Success Framework in school climate. That's really important, because what we're saying is we're going to put it out there. We're going to put out our data. We're going to let you see it. We're going to let you track it. We're going to let you say, why is this so low? What are you doing? And we need to have answers for you. We need to be able to say to you and be accountable that as a district, these are areas that we're working on, and this is our focus, and this is how we're supporting students. It also allows you year over year to see if we're improving. A lot of this data is based on student perceptions, on what they think about their schools and how they feel in their schools. So it's dynamic. I mean, I think it's going to be more challenging moving forward with some of these things, to be perfectly honest with you, to show growth. I think there are more challenges for us in terms of physical safety and emotional safety that kids may feel. So, but we are holding ourselves accountable and saying, here is the data, here is the information. You know, this is what we're going to do to support our students. We also were able this year to take 25 teachers to the National Association of Middle Level Education Conference. We're very excited about that because the goal of that was to start looking at an advisory program in our middle school. An advisory program is a way for kids to connect with teachers in a non-academic way. So it's a period during the day, a time during the day, and usually at least once a week, where students are scheduled into small groups with a teacher, and they have that same teacher, potentially for all 3 years that they're in middle school. So we have a guaranteed adult that those students have a connection with. And the goal is to do unstructured activities. I mean, some of the ones we've seen, they play games, they talk to each other, how are you doing? They might check grades, they might, just reinforce how are things going, how are your friend groups? There's just some activities we're gonna do with our students. But it's a really important thing because it allows us to have a different feeling during the day with kids. You're not going to English class, you're going to advisory. There's a different purpose for that activity. And so that's an important aspect that we're addressing and we're really excited about doing. We feel that by implementing an advisory program at the middle level, we're going to be able to support our students who do not feel as if they're connected to the school. We also hope to provide an environment where all staff members are actively engaged in the work of meeting the developmental and social needs of our students. This district has done a fabulous job forever academically, and we do a very good job, I think, socially and emotionally. But we feel that there's room for improvement there, and that is an area that we're going to continue to spend energy. The district is continually renewing and improving areas related to school climate. We're continually trying to address concerns that we find in our data and using the data as a catalyst for positive change in our schools. As we move forward with these initiatives, we're also going to try and address specifically how we do those things at Nash. How do we do them at NAI? What does it look like at the elementary school? What are elementary school students talking about in terms of their connection? We know that homeroom teacher is a powerful force for those kids, though. I mean, we know that that's a great thing, and our data shows that, that interaction with that faculty member and that person who they have all day long with them as their champion is really important. That does change some as you get to the middle school and we see more of these challenges. So our goal is to really systematically address what we do with social emotional learning and student connectedness especially through our secondary buildings in a very thoughtful and intentional way with our teachers. And we know that that has a tremendous amount of opportunity for us to do good and to support our students in a way that will give us a much better chance, I believe, of reducing the likelihood of a violent act. We know that. We know, as Sam said earlier, we know from the research, if kids see something, if they say something, if we know kids aren't connected and we connect them, if we address those mental health issues, we know that all those things are incredibly important to ensuring student safety in the district. And that's something that we're very much focused on and working on. At this time, I would like to bring Brian Kiggins. Brian is the chair of our school counseling department. He's going to come on up and he's going to have a few things to talk about the supports that are available for students.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Brian Kiggins. I'm a school counselor at NAI, and I'm also a part of the
district school counseling. I'm actually the department chair. I'm here as a part of a team. We are part of the pupil services team under the leadership of Ms. Gwen Maximo. The pupil services team consists of our social workers, school psychologists, school nurses, and student assistance coordinators. All of us together support students. This is just a brief snapshot of some of the things that we do to support our students. All students K to 12, the school counseling department focuses on the academic, career, and personal social development of students. We are expertise in counseling, consultation, prevention, and intervention services. So what does that really mean? K to 12, in the counseling field, we will do individual counseling with our students. We also provide group counseling. We have curriculum for bereavement, anger management, friendship club, social skills, stress reduction. These are usually self-reported by students. Parents will give us information about what the needs are of the students, and we develop curriculum around the needs of all students K to 12. For consultation, we are doing individual meetings with our students and our parents. We are participating in staff, team, and grade level meetings to support families and students. For interventions, we refer to outside individual counseling. We complete suicide risk assessments. We are part of pupil personnel teams, elementary student assistance program, and student assistance programs. We help provide tutoring and referral for special education testing. For prevention, we focus on two areas, one for the students and also for the staff. We help develop soft skills. We teach conflict resolution, bully prevention, cyber education, drug and alcohol education, and all this is done at age-appropriate levels. For students, we are involved in a variety of different committees. We also have trained faculty on suicide prevention, drug and alcohol and mental health training, and also part of stress reduction and mindfulness training. We focus on different developmental needs. We have school counselors now. There are 25 of us across the districts. There are 9 at the elementary level, 7 of them are at each of the middle schools, and we also have 2 at Marshall and McKnight. We have 6 middle school counselors, 5 at NAI, and also 5 at the senior high school. We utilize a lot of outside organizations. One of them would be Resolve and the Western Psych. We work with families during crisis situations, whether that is both checking and monitoring our student population or referring to outside counseling or agencies like the WPIC for mental health assessments. We also partner with an organization, Resolve, which will help us with in-house crisis situations and work with families to be able to provide information and counseling services in the home and outside the home. We also have transition meetings to help students transition back to school after a crisis situation in order to be able to make sure that we help develop their safety plans and keep all of our students safe during this time. I also would like to turn this over now to Mr. Mascari to talk about elementary student assistance.
Thanks, Brian. My name is Matt Mascari. I'm one of 5 school psychologists working within the district. What I'd like to do is spend a few moments just discussing some of the preventative measures that we had at the elementary level to sort of help those students that are exhibiting some difficulties. Our primary program is called ESAP, or the Elementary Student Assistance Program. Historically and currently throughout the district, it's a pre-referral process focused on addressing a number of issues, both academic, behavioral, social, and as well as some of those attendance issues. Referrals are typically initiated by some member of the school team or one of those parents that has a concern. And what we attempt to do through that process is actually gather information, if needed, develop some type of goal and a method to achieve that goal, as well as subsequent supports and meetings in order to address that issue. Those team members that are included in this process are typically parents, a variety of staff members, for instance, administrators, school psychologists, school counselors, the classroom teacher. And what we're hoping to do is, again, address that basic need. I also wanted to touch briefly upon the multi-tiered systems of support. That's a new program and initiative that the district is working on to provide academic support for students at the elementary level. That does not take the place of SAP. SAP is going to continue, but MTSS is going to be more focused on ways in which we can promote academic success for students. And SAP will continue as a referral process for those social, emotional concerns as well as attendance. Next, what I'd like to do is provide a brief description of the processes and systems that occur within the middle school level, so as well as the high school. That program is called the Pupil Personnel Team, or PPT. This is a pre-referral team process working, again, with a variety of staff members. Within that school, it includes administrators, classroom school counselors, school psychologists, and school social workers. And that team meets to discuss specific student concerns in a confidential manner in order to develop either plans or processes to assist that student, and also ways in which we can provide support to those family members. At the conclusion of that meeting, it may involve further assistance from some of our school staff, from some families if necessary, collaboration with outside resources when possible. So next, what I'm going to do is turn it over to Mr. Doug Brinkley, one of the SAP coordinators at the high school.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Brinkley. I'm the Student Assistance Coordinator at the Intermediate High School. Our Student Assistance Program is another team of teachers that is in place to support each of our students at the 5 secondary buildings. The teams that are in place at these 5 secondary buildings are designed to help students and help staff to find supports in the areas of need for stress, drug and alcohol, and any mental health issues that might pose a barrier to anybody's learning throughout their day and outside of their school day. The key with North Allegheny and the great benefit we have of having administrative support from here at Central Administration is that we provide an individual, myself, and another individual at the senior high school that works to coordinate the SAP teams. And this is a very unique situation because it's something that is an extra resource to be able to support our school psychologists, our school counselors, each of our building level principals that is in place to support each of our students. Student assistance is also designed to be able to work with our students during the school day and also to contact and work with outside agencies to be able to support our students and get the supports they need to be successful. These supports that we may come up with are beneficial to us, most recently in using the MAPS program from the University of Pittsburgh. We work with many outside resources in the private sector, and we also put on a Community Connections program. We'll have another one on April 4th of this year to educate each of our parents and each of our families about different things that we feel our students might need some support with. As already mentioned by Dr. Shear, I'm also a proud parent of 2 students here in the school district, a graduate of the school district, and have been employed here for 18 years, and to say that I'm very happy for the supports that we have in place for our students and the ways that we are changing to keep our students very safe on an everyday basis. Thank you very much for attending tonight, and we'll turn things back to Dr. Shear.
And I would just like to take a moment here at this time to introduce our 3 police chiefs. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we are very fortunate to have the support of these 3 individuals and the support of all of the folks in our 3 police departments. I know when I talk to colleagues across the region, sometimes they don't have the same relationships that we have, and they kind of wish that they did. So I can't thank them enough for their support, and I would like to invite them to the stage at this time and just talk a little bit about our partnership together and provide their perspective as well. So would you please welcome our 3 police chiefs.
Good evening. Pleasure to be here with you this evening. My name is Chief David DeSanti from McCandless Police Department. These are my esteemed colleagues next to me. We go back a long way. We all started on the job in the North Hills area about over 40 years ago. We've invested our life to service and service the community. These are 2 of the finest gentlemen I know. There's not a day that doesn't go by that part of our service that we don't brainstorm and talk and meet about how we can enhance the safety of your children, who we love. We are also part of our communities. We have an excellent relationship with North Allegheny. The keys are we communicate on a constant basis. We're always trying to exhaust all avenues to think about what we can do. Some of the things, simple things that we do is we're highly visible. We create respect and bond with the children. We have some ideas of some programs in the future that we'd like to implement. High visibility, and we're always there for the kids to let them know that we're there for them. We also train and all have excellent police departments, and in a response, in a second, would give up our lives to save your children. We're very, very invested in this and well trained. Besides knowing these gentlemen, who I consider friends and probably 2 of the finest professional colleagues that I could ever have, also know Sam Rosenberg. I know Sam, met Sam about, 9 or 10 years ago, Sam. in a district that I came where I was police chief. Sam did some training there, and I actually became one of his instructors. And Sam does a fantastic job in enabling teachers and staff to be able to protect your children before the lifeguards come. And Sam does an excellent job, and he's tremendous invested. And when I heard he was here, that's a partnership, and I've seen Sam also volunteer a lot of his time. He deeply cares about kids. I'm going to keep it short, but as I said, we are constantly, this isn't a partnership that's happened. This is a partnership. I was here for 28 years. I went 10 years. I took a police chief's job, and I came back. I feel blessed to be back in a community that I live in and that I love, and that we've always had a fantastic partnership, and we are continuing always to strive to be the best we can to protect your most vested interests, the children you love. Gentlemen, want to say anything? I don't think they're gonna say anything. But I'm privileged to be here, and glad to be here on a topic that's so serious. But I promise you that I lay in bed and we think, and Dr. Shearer and I are on speed dial. We talk. I talk to the building principals, and we communicate, and that is the key. And we're always doing everything we can to enhance the ability to protect your kids, that they can learn and grow in a safe environment. Thank you.
Their actions speak louder than their words. So I would just like to close this evening with some of our next steps. And so first, to share with those of you in the room who may not know, we are aware of the planned efforts around a nationwide walkout on March 14th and another similar event in April. We do believe that there is an important national conversation taking place around ending school violence, similar to what happened a few weeks ago at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Many of our student leaders at the secondary level have respectfully asked if they could participate in these events on March 14th. The walkout is currently planned from 10 a.m. to 10:17, 17 minutes to remember the 17 individuals who recently lost their lives. So we will be providing a safe space for students in grades 6 through 12 who wish to participate. To ensure the safety of our students and with the support of our 3 police departments, each of our 12 school campuses will be closed from 9:45 to 10:30 on that day. So if you do have an appointment with your child, we ask that you please come before that time or after that time. We're still considering options for our elementary students, knowing that the age appropriateness of these events may be a bit challenging for our younger students. And so we've heard some of those concerns from our parents. So at this time, we're really evaluating that, and we'll be meeting with our principals this week to discuss that further. And finally, in closing, please understand that we will continue to evaluate all of the processes and procedures that we currently have in place, and we'll continue to explore other opportunities that may fit well here at North Allegheny. We have received feedback from parents, students, and community members over the past 3 weeks asking us to consider additional safety measures. And we will explore all of our options, including school resource officers, additional trainings, metal detectors, increased mental health resources, etc. And we'll do so in conjunction with the 3 individuals you just heard from. So we do need your support. You know, if you see something, say something. Please make sure that that's something that you share with your students when you're at home as well. And if you do have weapons in your home, we do ask that you please keep them locked up in a safe space so that students can't get to those. After this evening's event, please provide your feedback or any questions that you have to the email that you see on the screen, safety@northallegheny.org. Answers to your questions will be included on a frequently asked questions section of our website that we are currently developing. And so this is a work in progress, but we feel that the communication efforts around this, there's certainly a timeliness. Please understand that we often don't share a lot of our safety and security protocols for all the obvious reasons. Our intent is never to share our playbook with others, but we do think that there's a level of transparency this evening included where we can bring you into the loop on some of the things that we do have in place. So once again, thank you very much for being here this evening. I would like to thank the Marshall Middle School administration and their tech crew for helping, coordinate this evening's events. Certainly want to thank the NATV Uproar, who is here filming in the live stream. And please make sure that afterwards, if you're interested in going back and watching this again, that will be housed. I'd like to thank Emily Schaefer and Matt Walker in our communications department for publicizing the event, but also creating so many of these resources for you as you begin to access some of the things that we shared here this evening. And finally, to each of our presenters that came out this evening. I hope you have a better understanding of how importantly we do take student safety and security, both inside the district with our staff members, and I tell people all the time, I am blessed. We have over 1,000 staff members at North Allegheny, and I get to work with some of the most fantastic professionals each and every day, and we get to welcome 8,400 students each and every day who are equally impressive, but our outside partners as well in all of this work. So thank you very much for being here this evening. Hopefully we've answered some of the questions that you've had coming into tonight, and please have a wonderful day.